Hey, I'm Cameron Frangenberg,
And I'm Thomas Downs.
and today we'll be speaking on our experience at Bill Morgan's hemp farm about cultivation, harvest, integrated pest management for producing quality hemp flower. Um, so throughout our presentation, we'll be going through and speaking about our boss and different aspects of the farm, some trials we did, disease and pest management, and we'll go step by step through the cultivation process and into marketing.
Yeah, so Bill Morgan is the farmer, and I stumbled across the farm one day when I was just going about my day, and I saw that there was a hemp farm pretty close to my house. So I contacted Bill through the Arkansas State Plant Board, and he offered me an internship, and then I got Cameron on in a couple weeks. Bill's an incredible farmer with over 50 years of experience, and he focuses on organic, bioactively grown processes.
So our greenhouse is a 30-foot by 100-foot Zimmerman style with a polyethylene cover, actually with a shade cloth strip sewn into the middle of it for increased ventilation. We used bug screen walls, had a gravel floor, and we fit 90 full flowering plants into 45-gallon canvas pots. We also used a combination of light emitting ceramic and high pressure sodium lights as our supplemental lighting. And we used that to delay flowering into fall as long as we could. Okay. Also, we had a shade house connected to the greenhouse where we were running 4 environmental trials at different shade levels to see which ones produce the highest yielding and the healthiest plants. This season we found that 3 and 4 produced the best quality. So next season we'll be doing away with 1 and 2, and we'll continue doing that until we get 4 really great shade cloths for this region.
Yeah, so alongside the greenhouse and the shade trials, there was also a field setting where they used 2-foot by 2-foot auger-driven holes. And out in this field, there was only one variety planted. We had control over 7 of those rows pictured on the right, and we used sustained fertilizer out there. So for genetic trials, it talk about how it's a genetic research farm. There were 17 different varieties grown in this location. We grew so many so that we could hopefully identify some of the best phenotypes within those selections. So this is a great example of different phenotypes. These are all the same. These are all supposed to be the same seed. So these were literally all the same seed from the same purchase. And we saw as many as 8 distinct phenotypes out in the field that displayed different levels of disease resistance, pest resistance, and the flowers were just very different.
So like all farms, we were constantly dealing with insect and disease pressure. Our approach was 100% organic, mainly using biocontrols and beneficial bacteria. On the left, we have a picture of a moth caterpillar. They like to burrow into the buds and cause botrytis, as you can see in the middle picture. And on the picture on the right, it's a picture of bud rot, which is caused by overstacking the flower buds during the drying and curing period and not moving them around enough, and it'll just grow mold. On the left here, we have one variety that would start to drop its lower branches after it was about a month old. We brought a tissue sample into the university, and the only thing that came back was leaf septoria. So we took a closer look at the roots and ruled out any kind of rot. And then we noticed ants traveling the branches. So we started sprinkling diatomaceous earth and a few species of nematodes got released into the soil of that variety. And on the right is a picture of a leaf miner attack, but it never got too bad. It stayed below the economic threshold, so we didn't have to do anything about that. On the left, we have a plant that got taken out by stem rot. And we noticed it occurring in the adjacent plant next to it. And this is the middle picture. Erica from Nitron Industries suggested that we drill a hole into the stem and inject it with Bacillus thuringiensis and wrap it up. And we did that, and it kept the plant alive. It still took some damage, but we got some off the end. And on the right is a picture of some spider mites. These are very common in indoor controlled environment operations, so you really need to take preventative measures. Around week 5, we got a pretty violent outbreak on some of the varieties, but we ended up doing a few knockdown sprays with citric acid solution and then a soybean oil solution, and then released some predator mites, and that got us through till harvest.
Yeah, so Cameron and I found ourselves so thankful and fortunate to be in this facility because we'd really got to see it from start to finish, the entire process from when the seedlings were prepared to when the flower is being cured. So on the first couple days when I arrived, there were just thousands of seedlings throughout the greenhouse, some of which were being grown for other farmers, many of which were going to be put out on our farm. So during the early vegetative cycle, they're making sure that the photo period is extended with some extra lights to make sure that these plants don't go into flower too early. So for the vegetative stage, we were really focusing on making sure that the plants were getting established in the pots. We were doing a lot of hand watering at this time, so there was really intensive labor at this point, which fortunately, we eventually got some irrigation set up. Bill set up this incredible irrigation system using PVC and dosatron and acid injection systems to make sure that our pH was going to be correct, and so that we could monitor our EC. He was able to use injection to actually inject this compost tea down these lines using emitters at each pot. It was really amazing.
And we mixed different variations of tea depending on the stage of growth that the plants were in. Normally it was local compost, earthworm castings, fish and seaweed emulsion, and beneficial bacterias. We focused mainly on micronutrients during flower, kind of cut back on the nitrogen, and we did that in order to keep our THC levels down so we could stay in compliance with the state. And this is a picture of where we went through and pruned out all the bottoms for the emitters. As you can see, we fit 2 into each pot so we could get a full coverage over the pot.
Yeah, so getting into this part of the season, these plants were starting to get much larger than I had ever seen cannabis plants ever grown to. And we had to figure out some way to cage these plants up before they truly got enormous. So Bill came up with this cost-saving system where he got galvanized concrete steel mesh and then rolled them into cylinders, got a welder to connect them up, and then dipped them into rubberized paint to prevent abrasion to ourselves or the plants that we're working with in the future when they get bigger.
And this, getting into the flowering stage, this is a pretty cool plant that we got to experiment with. It was called Socati, and it's a ruderalis strain, also known as an autoflower, because they don't respond to seasonal photo periods. So we actually got this plant from seed to harvest in 60 days. And on the left here is a female pre-flower showing its sex. And since we planted all feminized seeds, we were happy to get all females in the greenhouse, but we did get 1 male in the field, so it's not 100%. At this point in the growth, we started to wire the branches to the trellis to train them up vertically and let the lower branches catch up with them. On the left here is something known as bunching. This is about 2 weeks into flower. Not too much work to do after that. This is about 4 to 5 weeks into flower. This is where you really have to watch out for pests and diseases and keep everything at bay. Most of the things we did around this time was de-leafing chlorotic and big leaves to allow more airflow through the plants so we could reduce disease infestations.
Yeah, so getting later into the season, as we were getting into late August, some of the plants started to become ready for harvest. And we could just tell this by really inspecting the flowers close up and seeing how the trichomes are forming on the plants. With hemp, you have to be specifically aware of the fact that the more mature the plants get, the higher the THC levels could become. So at this point, they're testing all the time, testing to try to make sure that these flowers are going to be compliant, and we can harvest them with the highest levels of CBD and the lowest levels of THC. So for this process, once these plants are ready and harvested, you're going to have to put them somewhere. First, they have to be dried and cured in a room. Bill constructed this amazing grow room, and on the inside, he created a rack system with wires where he could hang up all of the plants, where we could get them to the desired moisture content within the bud so that they could be ready for processing. So during processing, this is arguably one of the most labor-intensive parts of the entire process, where you're inspecting all of these buds while you are cleaning them up, getting the leaves off of them, and then we also have this incredible machine called the Easy Trimmer. Now this thing is a boss. It just flies through trim. It's amazing. So you can put in unprocessed product and it basically spits out processed product in the form of trimmed buds. And then also in the collection bags on the bottom side of the machine, you can see in the bottom right image here, that's keef, which is basically just powdered cannabinoids. Really valuable stuff, really amazing.
Yeah, so Bill's plan for his business is to have it be entirely vertically integrated. He's creating his brand right now, Ozark Mountain Medicine, to be known locally and nationally. He uses social media to network with other seed companies and other growers around the country. And since we're still in the first year of harvesting and processing, we haven't got anything to market yet. But our main products will be hand and machine trim flower and pre-rolls containing different contents of cannabinoids like CBD. We have a CBG strain, which really helps with inflammation. And then our wide array of terpenes. And then some of the final product will be sent off for extraction, and that can be sent back to us to actually sell in Arkansas. So final thoughts, I definitely recommend this internship to anyone that is wishing to get into the industry or just gain more knowledge about hemp and cannabis. Bill's been doing this for a really long time. He knows exactly what he's doing. I learned so much from him due to like greenhouse and outdoor cultivation. And I got to teach him a thing or two along the way also. This plant's really awesome. And based off this experience, I actually look forward to having a farm of my own soon.
Yeah, Cameron summed it up really well. Bill's just an amazing person, which we're so grateful to. We're also thankful to Dr. Fang in the plant pathology department, Dr. Carell, Dr. Dixon and Lauren for helping us with the shade structure light measurements, Brandon Wadka, and Erica and Rhett from Nitron.
Cool. Any questions?
Hey, Cameron and Thomas, great presentation. Thanks so much. Sounds like you guys have done a lot, and I know you're still out at the farm, so still working away. So really well done. I do have a few questions. So I'll just start with the first one there. So I noticed you're growing plants both in the field and the greenhouse. I was just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit. I mean, why both systems?
Yeah, so this is labeled as a genetic research farm, but really there's also going to be the driving factor of the commercial process, where we really do need to have a specific, we need to have a threshold for an amount of product that's being sent out. So while Bill is doing this amazing research, alongside it is the business commercial interest, where we need to have a considerable amount of product to compete.
Right.
So the greenhouse, is that more kind of for your research plants, and the field is for producing commercial product? Is that what you're thinking, or?
The greenhouse product comes out better than anything outdoor. Really, we have a side-by-side picture of indoor and outdoor. Should have put on there, but yeah, when you can control the environment completely, like we did in the greenhouse, you're going to get more weight and a higher quality flower than what you grow outside. But yeah, it's all good. And like Thomas said, we just get a more bulk amount of weight from outdoor.
Yeah,
because there's so many plants out there.
Yeah, in this quality-driven competitive market, you have to do something to set yourself aside. And Bill is just leveraging his half a century of experience and knowing that that A1 product is going to come out of the greenhouse, and then we'll fortunately be able to pull some more weight out of the field.
Okay. No, very, very good and very interesting. I have some questions about markets and customers as well, and I think some of the other folks in the audience will too. And so I noticed, you're producing a smokable flower, whereas other CBD products, are oils, and you know more than me, but I hear a lot about oils, I feel. So how does smokable flower compare to oils? Is it a different clientele you're trying to serve to? If you could maybe just educate us a little bit more specifically on what kind of markets you're trying to hit.
Yeah, so CBD products, there's a wide range, just like marijuana products, which can be formed into all these different consumable forms. Flower is going to be attractive to maybe the ex-smoker or the previous tobacco user, or someone who recreationally or medicinally uses marijuana alongside. And the nice thing about those, the oils and the tinctures and the concentrates and the edibles, is that we can create much higher concentrations for those medicinal patients who really need doses in excess of 50 milligrams, which is really hard, or asking a lot for someone to smoke enough to achieve 50 milligrams dose. So that's the nice thing about those people having the choice of those products, just helps to give the consumer the option.
Right.
And is there anyone else in Arkansas who's kind of doing what you all are doing at the farm, producing smokable flower, or is that a unique kind of niche to Bill's business model?
I know there's a couple of farms where he's built structures for. I know there's one in Tawnytown that produces smokable flower, and they're on a pretty large scale. But as far as I know, we're the only ones doing genetic research trials in the state.
Yeah, and to put it into perspective, there actually are hundreds of hemp cultivation license holders for 2020. They're just producing a variety of product. A lot of them are going to be doing biomass out in the field, where the product is going to be sent off for distillate and for high concentrate CBD production. But Bill is focusing on that that greenhouse grown
Smokable flower market.
Yeah, higher value commodity.
Gotcha. So I know you both are planning on going into the cannabis industry. So how is this internship and your experiences with Bill, have they impacted, how you will yourself go into the industry, whether you become a business owner or not, grow organically versus conventionally? I'm just kind of curious as to what you will take from this experience and apply to your own future experiences as a commercial grower or what have you.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to have my own farm, and working with Bill, I've never had the experience in growing outdoors, which is what I plan on going into. So having all of this time with Bill, and making these connections that he has, and then my connection with Bill. He's open to helping me out, get started with everything that I might need help with. So just a great guy.
Yeah, that point on connections is key. I mean, when he said connections, it made me think about how while I was at Bill's internship, I found myself connecting the dots between classes like entomology and soil science and pathology, where we've studied those things in depth in classes, and now we actually get to apply them and start to connect those dots, which has just been amazing. I mean, it's just incredible. And and then also the literal connection with Bill, the social connection with Bill is extremely amazing, because he's turned out, as we've discovered, to be pretty well known and have a pretty incredible history.
Sounds really good. I mean, yeah, as you both know, I've been to Bill's and seen you all there. It is quite an impressive operation. So really, really glad that you guys are there, and great presentation. Those are all the questions I have, and we are approaching our time limit. Any final thoughts that you would like to give to the audience before we close this meeting?
Yeah, I just want to mention, if anyone wants to get involved with Ozark Mountain Medicine or Bill, they can find Bill's contact on Facebook under, I think that'll be Biogen LLC, which is his actual company name. You'll be able to find the product being marketed next year. But Bill is super open to people getting involved. He wants more interns. He wants to get people out there smelling and touching and experiencing these plants. So that's what I would choose to leave the audience with, the fact that Bill wants people to get involved and wants you to reach out.
Exactly.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, guys, very much. Appreciate your time. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.